Do I want to be Bette or Barbara from the movie Beaches? Firstly, do you know the movie? If you don't, you're probably too young, or male, or both. You should watch it though. Actually, if Beaches is the only movie you watch this year, you should probably get out more. That's a reference to Flying High that I've used here before, I think. Or Airplane, if you're not Australian. I know it was Airplane in the UK. Another old person movie reference. I'm helping the demographics today. YouTube doesn't even tell me about my own age group. It's thinking, I suppose, we're already dead or something, because even when I look at our demographics in YouTube, it doesn't even have above maybe 45. But when I look at the demographics, about half my audience is older than 45. They're just missing from the list. So back to the point. I've been wrestling with this question recently, this idea of Bette versus Barbara. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, you won't understand what the wrestle is. But Bette is a star and Barbara is her supporter in the movie. Or you may know the song, The Wind Beneath Her Wings. Alvin very kindly said to me when I asked if I was the wind beneath his wings, he said, "You are one of my wings." I thought that was wonderful. But I've been wrestling with this question recently, sort of subconsciously, a little bit consciously. I'm not making pros and cons about fictional movie characters, but what I've been thinking about is this question that's been sitting there for me. Do I want to be Bette, i.e. the star, or do I want to be Barbara, the person that supports the star? And the answer is maybe a bit of both. I've certainly been the performer, been the talent or the centre of attention in mild or bigger ways, bigger stages, smaller stages, training stages. It started in school, which I think confused my whole personality about whether I even wanted to do it at all. I'd just always been on stage. I was a big fish in a tiny pond and very watched, right? So I got a lot of my ego from that. I remember Cindy Kennedy, I haven't even had the chance to tell her this yet, but in her one-woman show, The Good Girl Gone Rogue, she tells a wonderful story about missing out on an opportunity to be in a play, and it drove her fuel for becoming someone who is on stage now. And as she was telling the story, I was thinking, I was the girl in the room before her that turned her off doing it, who didn't even want to be in the room auditioning for the play she had to be a part of. That might be TMI, but it's useful from a psychological point of view. So part of the reason I've always wanted to be seen is that it's how I got most of my kudos growing up. It's how I was known. It's how my identity was built, right? It's probably part of the reason I'm sitting here. Yeah, being seen. Barbara Hershey's character is much quieter. She's less visible. She's less celebrated, but she's deeply loving of Bette and deeply loved and deeply connected. And recently I saw something that softened me towards myself about this idea of being Barbara, because I actually have been in recent times really a lot more Barbara than Bette. I will have talked about here, if you've seen other episodes, have a long-running pattern. You're not doing enough, you're not celebrated enough, you're not successful enough. It likes to come up a lot. That voice likes to come up a lot. It's my ego. It's boring. I'm working with having it get a bit quieter and succeed and fail depending on the day. But when my old friend Bette says you're not doing enough, you should be further along, you're wasting your potential, etc., etc., you should have this figured out by now. All of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. It actually is worth it to have a look about what difference am I making from the other point of view, from the point of view of supporting others. And I saw this post about kindness, and it actually really struck me, the impact we have on other people, the difference we make that we often never fully see. And that's really key, right? That we often never fully see. And I felt it this time more than usual. It made me stop and think about my own life. And I realised for probably the last 20 or 30 years, my genuine intention has to be kind. And I have absolutely failed at that. I've been rude, I've been defensive, I've been reactive, I've been insensitive, I've hurt people, all of those things. And I'm very willing to apologise if you would like to get in touch if I have done one of those things to you. But I can say, hand on heart, that kindness has genuinely been my aim, and I've wanted people to feel better, I think largely because I haven't felt very good and I want other people to feel better than I have. But when I looked at the last period of time, or a longer period of time, after reading this post and realising I've actually made quite a difference to quite a lot of people, it was actually a really softening experience to read it and actually feel in that recognition of that post, actually come back to the less vicious side of myself and the, proud of myself part, or the grateful for myself part. And I can feel it as I'm saying it now, that I have really cared, I've really listened, I've really shown up, I've helped every way I could, I've thought about people, I've loved people as best I can. And it was really lovely to realise that, because I clearly have measured my life a lot more through achievement, or my ego has at least. Not contribution, but achievement. What have I done? What have I built? Who's applauding it? When can I finally meet that marker of having succeeded? How many people have listened or noticed? Or, have I checked that thing off? But when I look at this other measure and think about, well, who have I helped? Who feels more loved because they met me? Who is carrying something more useful because of a conversation we had? Who sees themselves as I wish they did more because of my interaction with me? And it really struck me, but beautifully struck me. My ego wants to be Bette. Ironically, I realised I'm only realising it now that I say it. I've called my ego the whole time Barbara. But that's a very confusing metaphor, because in this episode we're talking about Bette and Barbara, and actually Bette's my ego, and my ego is desperate for all of that, really. I've shared a lot about it here. It keeps coming up, it keeps going down, it keeps coming up, right? I'm not sure if it's getting boring. Might be. But, I'm trying to be real. So my heart is Barbara in this analogy. My heart is Barbara with a little bit of Bette, and I'll tell you what I mean about that. So my heart definitely loves the role I play as Barbara, where I'm connected, loving, part of people's lives, making a difference, coaching people. It's so satisfying when I help people suffer less, see themselves better. And when I look at my commitment in life, actually, the Barbara part is currently winning and has been winning for some time. Making choices from the heart, but the ego is not happy about that, and that has been really the struggle. I swing on the daily, hourly sometimes. I want to be Bette, I want to have recognition, then I realise I want significance, peace, self-love. It's very one way and then the other, and of course it's been exaggerated in recent times from recent big actions. Yeah, it's exhausting. But I recently did one of my healings with Lockie, and I saw something that helped me explain this to myself, and this idea of the drive of just becoming enough and the fuel that success will be a destination and being worthy and all those things, blah, blah, blah. It really is blah, blah, blah by now, but respectfully, it has been a really difficult thing to shift, right? It's been my lifetime identity, and I'm not that young. Because every success just comes with another starting line, another mountain, another thing to go. Like Sean Acor's line, I just push happiness over the cognitive horizon. But when I think about being kind or supporting others, including myself, I don't need to achieve anything else to be worthy. I know that in my heart. Nothing, not one more thing is bullshit. The whole story is bullshit. It's an ego-driven, self-voice, sabotagey bullshit story that a lot of us run. I shared about it in my success video. I'm already worthy. You're already worthy. We're whole, complete and perfect. And that's so hard to get on board with when the ego's yelling. But I actually am, and you are, just as we are. That's beautiful. But If I'm already worthy, why do I still want things? Why do I still want adventures? Why do I still want excitement? Why do I still want to create? And that's why I realised there is a bit of Bette in play, not from the ego point of view, from the creation point of view, from the adventure point of view, from wanting to have a big and exciting life. They're expressions of my life. And it's really keeping those two things uncollapsed. When I did a big healing with Lockie some time ago, I realised that, I've had the things like this. I had recognition or success and creative adventures collapse together. And that's why it was so confusing. But when I teased them out and saw, okay, I don't need to do anything to be worthy, but what do I want to do? That becomes a much more fun proposition, right? Because what I want to do, and I'm learning even as I talk, that's part of the reason coaching works, right? You learn as you talk. When I'm thinking of creating things from that space of loving creating and learning and helping people and having a crack at things and having adventures and having excitement, it's not because I need them to make me enough. They will never do that. That's the breakthrough. That will never do that. No number of followers is enough if the whole is not filled by oneself. But because they're fun. And I remember a thing from when I was younger, and it so makes sense in this story. So do you know my longest held dream in my life was to be a backup singer? A backup singer, right? Not the lead singer, a backup singer. I knew myself a long time ago in my heart. I wanted the excitement. I wanted to be part of something amazing. I wanted some attention, not too much, very specific amount. Unfortunately, my extremely average high school choir voice was not going to get me there. As you probably know, it was devastating news. Backup singers are phenomenal. They're often better singers than the lead singer. Hello, Vicar and Linda Bull, for one example, and the guys that used to support John Farnham. Don't know where you are now, but superb. I don't think there's many backup singers listening to this podcast, but isn't it funny? Perspective's an amazing thing, because if you're a backup singer, you might be secretly wishing you were the lead singer. And that's sort of the point, isn't it, right? The perspective or the context is everything. Whatever we have, we're often looking at the other thing or what's next or the thing over there, what will satisfy us, what will make us look good enough. But, the truth is, I actually don't think I want recognition at all from anyone apart from me. I want me to feel okay with me. I want me to love me to be gentle with me. Thank God I have times where that happens. I want recognition just from me. I want love for me. I want to feel safe in me, peaceful in me, pick on myself less. Thank God I'm having times of that now, and quite long stretches sometime. But on the other side, I also do want to have impact. I want to reduce suffering. I want to increase joy. I want people to feel less alone. I want people to understand themselves better. I want to leave things a little better than I found them. I want to write. I want to create. I want to speak. And at times I really feel like part of my frustration is not around wanting recognition for my ego. It's around wanting to have the biggest impact I can. But if I'm being completely honest, when I analyse that, I can also feel some of my Catholicism coming in there, like, well, if you're going to do something, do it well, like be very good, be very useful, be saintly in your contribution. And that's probably the next lesson, right? Because whilst I want to save the world and sacrifice myself for others, actually this whole path is around taking better care of myself as a starting point. Maybe instead of trying to become a saint, I become a friend to myself first, and maybe peace and self-love aren't distractions from the mission. Yeah, that's actually so true. They're not distractions from the mission, they are the mission. I don't know if they are everyone's mission. I think Lockie would say they are the point, or the first step of the greater mission is to come back to oneself, come back to one's self-love. That feels right. But anyway, for me, it's absolutely true that it is the current mission. So today, Barbara's winning. Barbara from Beaches, not my other Barbara. And I think that's the key, me being okay with that. I wonder if it's the key for you. If it is, do yourself the favour and be loving to yourself. One of the ways you can do that I did recently, which I think is a fantastic thing to do, is write a list of things that you've done well recently. Even from the start of the year, right? Now, if you're stingy, like most of us are, particularly with our self-love, you'll find it hard to write this list. And I would say make it a minimum of 50 things, minimum, that you've done that you can celebrate since the start of the year. So because I like to practice what I'm preaching here, I did this list yesterday. And in terms of what I would consider achievements, it was quite a short list, actually, in terms of what I consider achievements. And I might have been in the wrong frame of mind. But anyway, it doesn't really matter, because when I did the list in two ways, and you can do this as well if you'd like, it's quite nice to do it. What have you done that's impacted you or your ego success? But what have you done for others? And when I looked at what I'd done for others, it was a really good list, and it was a big list, and it was a really impactful list. And why has that not counted for me? Why has not doing stuff for others and them feeling happier from that not been enough? Because of my Bette Midler. She's so loud, but we're working with her. What's your list? What have you done that's successful? But more importantly, how have you been that has impacted others well? And if that list is a bit short, might be something to focus on, right? Because that's kind of the whole point. Love you. Thanks for being here.